I was impressed with the fact that Noah and the animals have just ridden this thing out. And then I was thinking of it as a metaphor for the storms that kind of come into our lives.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that that's kind of what happens is that God brings the storms, and then He's in the process, in the midst of the storm, of drowning most of what we knew of the old world.
Mm-hmm.
The 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 worlds that we lived in could be the worlds of our mind, our paradigms, so many things we take for granted. You know,
Yeah.
when we hit a storm, it could be, we were talking about cancer earlier, it could be cancer, could be
Mm-hmm.
health, could be financial, could be lots of different things, could be a spiritual storm. But
Mm-hmm.
when you get into the midst of the storm, it does seem like for the first, for a long time, for the
Yeah.
first part of the storm, you're just kind of holding on, like you're just surviving.
Right. It's survival mode. Absolutely.
But then it does seem like the shift usually comes, and then welcome everyone to Beers with Jesus, Todd's World. We're back after a week off, and weirdly for us, we're doing beers with we're recording Beers with Jesus early, and then we're going to record news tomorrow. So typically we're doing that the other way. Carrie's with me. How's it going, Carrie?
Hello. I'm going to say happy
Welcome.
4th of July to everyone because
It's going to be
I do
almost
it.
4th of July when this drops.
Yeah. Woo.
So this is gonna drop right before the 4th of July weekend. So
Mm-hmm.
everyone have a fabulous 4th of July weekend. Is
Yeah.
this we'll probably talk a little on news about this. Is this the 250 thing that's going on? Is that this like 4th of July like right now?
Yes.
Okay. But
America is
Trump didn't have his
200.
rally and speech and stuff yet, right?
No.
I heard something the other day that made me think, did I miss that? How could I have missed that?
I wonder if
Anyway.
Jesus is going to say anything about 250 years. No, it's yeah. So it's going to
Well,
happen this
have a
week.
great 4th of July, guys.
Hmm.
Enjoy the holiday, enjoy the weekend. Drink lots of beer. Beers with Jesus. I'm toasted. Carrie's recovering today. She had all her beers with Jesus last night.
All week. All week.
So we were out. I had my daughter's open house. We missed last week. So glad to have everybody back. Thanks for joining us again. My daughter's open house went fabulously. Well, I've
Yay,
had two.
congratulations.
My daughter and stepdaughter. I think the last one was my stepdaughter's. And so yeah, we had our last two, and it's been a flurry. And now everything's done, and they're moving on. They're going to move on to their
Their
respective
next
careers or
their next
college or gap
steps.
years or
Isn't that
whatever they're going to
wild?
do. Yeah, it doesn't bother me very much. I'm good with it. I mean,
That's good.
I enjoyed it, you
That's
know.
good. I'm
So,
excited
and they
for
all
them
did
too.
great. All my kids have always, done well in
Isn't that
school and
wonderful?
everything. So,
Lots to be
yeah,
proud about.
it's exciting, right?
Yeah, totally.
And we didn't
Yep.
have any floods while we were gone.
Right. I know we gave that one some time to just to simmer.
This week we're in chapter 8 of Genesis.
Okay.
On Beers with Jesus, guys, we just go through the stories of the Bible if you're new. And we hope that you'll subscribe, that you'll join us, because you'll probably listen to this whole thing and you'll be riveted and you'll think that's the greatest thing I've ever heard. And so all you got to do is you hit the subscribe button or the follow button or whatever you're on. If you're on
Yeah.
YouTube, whatever. You can watch us on YouTube, on Apple and Spotify. You just get to listen to our beautiful voices.
There
But
you
we
go.
just go through the stories of the Bible. We use the Message because I love the Message. I happen to think it's the best. If you don't love the Message, well, just listen and you will.
You will. Yeah, give it a chance. You'll love it.
But as I always say, you read whatever Bible, the best Bible translation is the one you actually read because most
There you
people
go.
don't. So if you just actually read it,
Yep.
I'm calling it good. I know.
Does sound
It could
good.
be the kids' Bible for all I care. Something. I think the
Yeah.
Holy Spirit can work through it.
Oh, definitely. But yeah,
So,
thank you for being here, and please share with a friend after you Realize how riveting we are? Just share with a couple friends.
So we're going through Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
We started out Beers with Jesus. We went through the book of Mark, and we went through the book of Acts. Both fabulous. Quite honestly, you should go back and listen to every one. But I realize that's a big ask. But for today, you're in Genesis 8 with us, and we are kind of smack dab in the middle of Noah's flood.
I know, we
Is
left him
exactly where
floating
we're
for
at.
a while.
Yeah. We read the chapter and then we go through it. The last verse of chapter 7 that we ended on last week said the floodwaters took over for 150 days. And that was where we left Noah and family and the animals holding on for dear life. Just floating on the watery chaos.
That is
And now we're in chapter 8. I'm reading today. So I'm just going to read through the chapter. Then we're going to talk about it. See what the story's all about. So
wait.
this is Genesis 8 in the Message. So after the floodwaters took over for 150 days, it says, then God turned his attention to Noah and all the wild animals and farm animals with him on the ship. God caused the wind to blow, and the floodwaters began to go down. The underground springs were shut off. The windows of heaven closed, and the rain quit. God turned off the sprinklers. Well, that's not in the Message. Not even the Message says that, but it's true.
I was going to say, did you just read that?
Inch by inch, the water lowered. After 150 days, the worst was over. On the 7th day of the 7th month, the ship landed on the Ararat mountain range. The water kept going down until the 10th month. On the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains came into view. Imagine just being excited to see some kind of anything but water.
Anything on the horizon.
After 40 days, Noah opened the window that he had built into the ship. He sent out a raven. It flew back and forth, waiting for the floodwaters to dry up. Then he sent a dove to check on the flood conditions, but it couldn't even find a place to perch. Water still covered the earth. Noah reached out and caught it and brought it back into the ship. He waited 7 more days and sent out the dove again. It came back in the evening with a freshly picked olive leaf in its beak. Noah knew then that the flood was about finished. He waited another 7 days and sent the dove out a third time. This time, it didn't come back. In the 601st year of Noah's life, on the first day of the first month, the flood had dried up. Noah opened the hatch of the ship and saw dry ground. By the 27th day of the second month, the earth was entirely dry. God spoke to Noah, leave the ship, you and your wife and your sons' wives, and take all the animals with you, the whole menagerie of birds and mammals and crawling creatures, all that swarming extravagance of life, so they can reproduce and flourish on the earth. Noah disembarked with his sons and wife and with his sons and wife and his sons' wives. Then all the animals, crawling creatures, birds, every creature on the face of the earth left the ship, family by family. That's awfully orderly for animals.
I know. There's something supernatural happening.
Noah built an altar to God. He selected clean animals and birds from every species and offered them as burnt offerings on the altar. God smelled the sweet fragrance and thought to himself, I'll never again curse the ground because of people. I know they have this bent toward evil from an early age, but I'll never again kill off every living thing as I've just done. For as long as the earth lasts, planting and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never stop. And that's it.
For as long as Earth lasts.
For as long as Earth lasts.
Interesting.
What do you think, Carrie?
Well, this is, I'm trying to figure out.
You got through it. They got through it.
They really did. It was long. How long was this?
They were on the ark for pushing a year,
Okay.
I would say. Because it's about 5 months where the Earth's just the chaos of the flood took over. The floodwaters took over for about 150 days, so about 5 months.
Okay.
And at that point, it's the rain, the springs, the underground springs. The firmament above is just dropping. Everything is it's just chaos.
Yeah.
And God is in the process of destroying the world through the chaos. And yet, in the midst of this chaos, it's a big boat, but really, when you compare it to the whole world, it's pretty small.
Sure.
And it's floating in the middle of this watery chaos. And for 5 months, Noah and his wife and his sons and their wives and the animals were kind of just holding on for dear life. I mean, they had to get on with life. They had to clean up after the animals and feed things and, take
Right.
care of things. But there was no sign. I mean, it was just chaos outside. That's a
Yeah.
long time.
Well, chaos, and I also think then just probably quiet. Just like nothing happening out there. If it's just water,
Well, I picture that first 5 months just like constant storms. You know what I mean?
sure.
But once that happened, see, what it says is that the floodwaters took over for 150 days, and then God turned his attention to Noah. It's like, I don't think it's that God forgot about Noah. I don't think that's the
No,
point.
no. Yeah, it's kind of like
But God's wiping the slate clean, and that wiping of this ginormous slate took about 150 days.
wow.
And then he turns his attention back to Noah and the animals, and then he causes the wind to blow, and the floodwaters begin to go down, and the springs are shut off, and the windows of heaven closed, and the rain quit. And then that's where I think you get that silence, that kind of quiet descending. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you got another 5 months of watching this water go down inch by inch, or not really watch. It's like watching paint dry. It's kind of imperceptible,
Right.
Until after a while, after another 5 months, the mountains come into view, and that's kind of their first glimmer of hope. You know what I mean?
Or is it just described for us?
Well, that's what it says. It says the water kept going down until the 10th month. On the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains came into view. And so that's the first sign that Noah and the family have that there is something's left over. Thank God.
Yeah. The mountains. I mean, you just think of the volume of water.
Well, and it's real possible if you were to dig into the science and the geology of what something like this would cause, that many of the mountain ranges that we have today were caused by the flood. The tectonic plates coming together, everything that would result from this kind of just a worldwide chaos, a chaotic kind of
The
disaster.
catastrophic. Yeah.
That a lot of the mountains wouldn't have been there before. This is a new world that they're embarking on.
Okay.
Now, God's bringing them from the old world. But what they're going to open the hatch of the ark onto is a world none of them have ever seen before. I mean, that's how much it would change based on this kind of a disaster happening. You know what I mean?
Imagine it would be very green.
Probably would be. That's a good point. And so I really have I was impressed with the fact that Noah and the animals have just ridden this thing out, and then I was thinking of it as a metaphor for the storms that kind of come into our lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what happens is that God brings the storms, and then he's in the process, in the midst of the storm, of drowning most of what we knew of the old world. The worlds that we lived in could be the worlds of our mind, our paradigms, so many things we take for granted.
Yeah.
When we hit a storm, it could be, we were talking about cancer earlier, it could be cancer. could be health, could be financial, could be lots of different things, could be spiritual storm. But when you get into the midst of the storm, it does seem like for a long time, for the first part of the storm, you're just kind of holding on, like you're just surviving.
It's survival mode. Absolutely.
But then it does seem like the shift usually comes, and then we think, okay, maybe I'm out of it. And then we get to wait just as long on the next side as things, inch by inch, the waters start to recede, and we start to get a feel for what our new world is going to look like, for what's left, what's changed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All these different things, but they come into focus slowly. Does that make sense? And we're
Yes,
we're
totally.
just kind of we're kind of becoming somewhat familiar with this new world, and we're wondering how long we're going to have to wait to get our legs under us again, to find dry ground that we can stand on. You know?
Absolutely. I was just thinking about this concept with, in terms of grief. You know, you first lose somebody, you're just in survival mode.
Yeah.
And then, like you just said, then you just get a chance to look at what that new world is like, and you're figuring out how to exist in that. And I feel like it's the same thing.
It
it's
is.
like the timing of it.
I think it's
almost
very
exactly
similar.
that.
I think that grief is in those stages of grief represent kind of how we deal with the storms in our life. Because certainly there's shock. I mean,
Yeah.
whether it's grief, I mean, whether somebody dies or not,
Right.
if you get the cancer diagnosis comes with a shock.
Yeah. Yeah. Shock and denial, kind of. You're just like,
Yeah.
no way.
And then eventually you move to some sort of acceptance. I don't even know all the stages of grief. So many people in my family have died, and I still don't know the stages of grief.
You're like, I'm winging it. I'm winging
Maybe.
it. I'm feeling my feelings, whatever they are. Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right. I think it's a lot like that. And I think this gives us a good example of what God does when he's kind of starting over. And that's what he does a lot of times in our lives. Is he'll bring us to a point where he's going to begin again. He's going to kind of wash everything out and kind of start fresh. I think that's generally when we kind of turn back to him from
Yeah.
from a season of maybe rebellion or
Sure.
running away or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you're right. Why do you think, Todd, why do you think he destroyed all the animals? Like, why was it necessary? You know what I mean? I mean, this is destruction in an extremely dramatic manner. And God didn't take issue with the animals, I don't believe.
Right.
I mean, he had issue with people, and we talked about, like, the evil that was in part of their culture at that time. But why do you think the animals had to be wiped out?
Well, I don't know if the animal. I don't know if the animals present any more of a problem than all of nature being wiped out. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Like,
that's a good point. But, like, he didn't bring plants onto,
no.
on that kind of thing.
Clearly, he thought those would. Or I say he thought. He knew. We're talking
Right.
about God.
I think the plants will make it.
God was like, that'll probably be all right. No, I think that I think that man as the manager, kind of the steward of creation.
Yeah.
I think that it can cut both ways. So when God's blessing mankind, all of creation partakes in that blessing to some extent. When God's redeeming mankind, all of creation will partake to some extent in that redemption. And I think that's true of judgment too. I just think we're all inextricably tied together, is what I think. I don't think that, see, we have this idea. If you think about, like, the way that materialism and science kind of looks at things, evolution, let's say, it's been baked into us that for hundreds of billions of years, There was animals before there was ever man, and this that, and we get these
Yeah.
we get this idea of man being kind of later to the program, and and we're just like we're a parasite on the planet, right? And why can't we just be? And I just don't think that it's not biblical. It's
Okay.
biblical that Adam named the animals. God created the animals in some sense for Adam and for man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For man to manage, for man to look after. And when man doesn't, it maybe in a way it's no different than kids who get wrapped up in parents' divorces or bankruptcies or whatever else. It's not necessarily they're not directly implicated in anything that caused it, but because their parents are responsible for them, they're wrapped into both the good and the bad. You know what I mean? And I think it might be nothing more than that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's a question I guess in the end we'll have to ask God if we're curious. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was just curious if you had thought about it. Like, why'd the animals have to be a part of this too? But
I guess maybe he thought, how else would he do? How's he going to destroy mankind and all the works and have a full reset
yeah.
without that? I don't know. You know what I mean?
He's God. He could do anything. So it's just interesting that
Yeah.
this very systematic sort of, way.
I think it is a sign that there's more interconnectedness within creation than we realize, and it's true that mankind we're responsible. We're the ones that have reason, and that God calls to seek Him. He doesn't call the wolves to seek Him, right?
Yeah.
And we're called to. But I think it's a good reminder that we're not the only ones who pay the price for our own feelings. In fact, our kids are. I mean, it can widen out in scope all over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just kind of what it is. I did think that the timing was interesting, that it was all God's timing. Like God told Noah when to board the ship and he told him when to leave the ship.
Yep.
Like God has this whole thing planned out. I think that's encouraging too, because I think we feel that's what we're tempted, that's what we need faith for when we're in the middle of a storm, because we're tempted to think we've been abandoned by God.
Yes.
Even Jesus. What was Jesus' cry on the cross? My God, why have you abandoned me? And it does talk about God turning his face away, but did God fully abandon Christ? I don't know if he did, but he also doesn't with us, but we feel like he does. And so to see the Savior, to see God as man, feeling that same abandonment that we feel on the cross, I think that's really powerful. You know?
It is. It definitely feels that way. I think it's very easy for someone to believe that while they're struggling with something. Be like, God, why aren't you fixing this? Why aren't you snapping your fingers and answering my prayers today?
Yeah.
About all the things that I'm asking for. Yeah.
Well, and don't you think maybe Noah, or if not Noah, maybe Shem or Ham or Japheth, certainly one of their wives,
Oh yeah.
like 3 months in was like, I think God's abandoned us. I don't know.
Right?
He said he's going to save us, but what's he going to save us to? There's nothing outside but chaos. You know?
Yeah.
And I got to believe that's that next faith step. So the first faith step with Noah was to believe God that there was going to be a flood and to build the ark and to make all the preparations. And then to get on the ark when God told him to get on it. These are the steps of faith he's making. But once he's in the storm, he has to find faith that God is going to see him through to the other side. And I think often in our own storms, in our own personal storms, we feel like we're not going to. That's the source of a lot of our stresses. We think we're not going to make it through this. I know God promised it. And, I believe God. And I even say I believe God. But even while I'm saying I believe God, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, help my unbelief.
Right.
It's hard not to get emotionally weighed down in the storms. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You think it's
Completely.
true?
I think it's 100% true. It's really tough. And you can even be a faithful person, say every day, I believe, God has a plan, and you can still be fearful and have doubts in those struggle times and just think, like you said, there are times when you feel like you can't make it through it. And well, and I guess that's how it manifests in a faithful person.
Yeah.
That's how the doubting manifests. You think, I can't do this. And it's like, exactly. You
You
you're
can't.
not supposed to be able, right. You're not supposed to be able to do this.
This is where I'm going to root out some of that willful independence. I mean, God, where
Yeah.
God's going to root out some of that willful independence and teach us dependence.
Yeah.
Teach us humility. You know, something I read this week, it was, this might seem like a stretch for people with the flood, but I thought it made sense. Um, it's Proverbs, well, and I actually have a fair amount of scripture, different scriptures we can kind of go through that I
Okay.
felt like made some good points. But this is Proverbs 15. It's the very last verse, verse 33, and I'll tell you the truth. In my own personal Bible reading, tend to read through books of the Bible, but there's two books that I make exceptions on, and they're both Proverbs and Psalms. And
Okay.
what I do is, if I have a week between, I'll take like a week between books, and I'll just do like 7 Proverbs, or I'll do
Okay.
7 Psalms, and then it helps break it up for me. You know
Sure.
what I mean? Because I like the stories. Neither one of those are stories. They're still really
Yeah.
good,
They're
but
really good, but it's,
but they're
yeah,
not quite as they
they're
don't
structured
flow like
differently.
a series, or like a story does.
Yeah.
So
They're
this
like
is
long
Psalm or
conversations.
Proverbs 15:33. It says, "Fear of God is a school in skilled living.
Okay.
First, you learn humility, then you experience glory." And I thought, I think that was probably true for Noah.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
the fear of God, faith, it was a school in skilled living for Noah.
Mm-hmm.
And first, what came first was the building of the ark and then the holding on for dear life. And then the waiting.
Yeah.
But the faith was that even through that long period of learning humility, I think dependence is a fair word to kind of compare to humility.
Sure.
Learning you can't do it yourself.
Yeah.
Sometimes the only way to learn that is to come all the way to the very bottom and end of yourself. And that's a really painful, really long
Uh-huh.
journey, trip, journey, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And
It can be a dark place to be.
yeah, I think it helps maybe when you're in those times, at least it helped me to think of it, that
Mm-hmm.
if God's going to first teach us humility, like I thought about my own kind of testimony, my own path, and I thought that there was nearly 40 years, I would say, where it took me to finally really kind of turn and give myself to God. And I think 40 years is a long time
Mm-hmm.
to get swollen up with self-will and pride. Probably is going to take God a while to root that out. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
maybe I shouldn't be surprised if it takes a decade to learn the humility on the front end. And
Right.
maybe that's the only way for God, that it's safe then for God to move us into experiencing glory and blessing, because at that point there's no danger of us thinking we were the source. You know what I mean? But
Yes.
it's a long, long road to get there.
Mm-hmm.
In my humble opinion.
Look at you, Mr. Humility.
Am I trying to be humble opinion? Sometimes. But
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
There's
That
just
it
stages
would take
God's
a while.
learning through.
Mm-hmm.
Like Paul says with contentment, he says that he's learned to be content in whatever state he's in, whether he has
Mm-hmm.
much or whether he has little, he's learned to be content.
Right.
Just like we learn humility. And maybe it's the same kind of thing. You know what I mean? maybe it takes a while. And the only way you really learn to be content is to not have as much, I think.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah. So people will say, like, don't pray for patience, because if you pray for more patience, your
God will give
patience
it to you. He'll
yeah,
learn you.
he'll learn you. You'll get tested. Your patience will be tested constantly. And it's really funny. So I feel like it's the same kind of thing. But that dependence, there's a fine line. Steve always used to say, God helps those who help themselves.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just sit back, twiddle your thumbs, and be like, God's going to take care of all of my problems.
Right. Noah had to feed
So,
the animals.
right. He had to build the
He
ark.
had to clean up their crap. I
He had
imagine toss it out into the watery chaos.
right. I mean, yeah.
A lot of work.
Right. We definitely play a part in it. So it's hard to know. I think it takes some maturity as people, and maturity in our faith to recognize where we end, doing our part, but then letting God do his part.
Right.
And accepting his will and being patient about it.
We have to do everything that's in our power. And that probably isn't going to be enough. And then trust God for the rest. Sometimes it's enough. And I mean, they're not in everything do we need a miracle from God. Like, you can get up and get a sandwich. And you should. It's within your power to do it. Right?
Right.
You can work, and most of us, the way God provides, when we pray for provision, if we're running through financial hard times or whatever else, most of the time it's going to be providing through work. Most of the time he's going to provide a way for us to earn some income.
Yes.
Usually, money isn't growing on trees. At least I haven't, or I don't have the right trees up here in Michigan. I don't know.
Yeah, you're not going to find a stack of 50s on your porch. It's going to be an opportunity, and you're going to have to go work hard. And right.
What God does in us, he does through us, and it's going to feel a lot of the time like we're working at it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
As it should, I think. Seek God while he may be found. Knock and the door will be open. Ask. All of those things are action type things that we're taking.
Right.
Like, if you want to get to know God, you got to go after him. Like, he's there to be known. But he's not just going to, like, download it into your brain. You know what I mean? Like, you have to
you have
put
to
in the
pay
work to
attention.
get to know him.
You have to pay attention. You have to be able to listen.
Yeah. And to some extent, the only way that you can get to know other people is to the extent that we can check our own egos at the door.
Yeah.
In other words, we've all known those kinds of people who, like, maybe they'll come over, maybe you'll see them, you go out or whatever, and for the entire 3 hours, all they talk about is themselves, just nonstop, boom, 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 and you're like, whoa.
Right.
But you wonder, in something like that, can even God break through that noise in their head or in our heads? You know what I mean?
You asking, can he? Yeah.
Yeah, but because, I mean, we can get so caught up in our own troubles and so wound up that we don't ever even, we're never even still enough to know that he is God. You know what I mean? Because we're just like madly swinging, just wildly swinging, hoping we'll make connection with something. But God's like, just. So I think it's both. It's that, because Jesus says, "Come to me and Jesus says in Matthew 6, and this is the message, guys,
Okay.
because that's the best. He says in Matthew 6, he says, what I'm trying, or no, maybe it's Matthew 11 or Matthew 10. It's one of those.
Okay.
It's 10 or 11. He says, what I'm trying to do here is get you to relax, to not be so preoccupied with getting so you can respond to God's giving.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's part of that too.
talked
It's
about
like
this
everything
before,
else. It's
right.
always a balance. You know, you got to work for things,
Yep.
but it's not only your work that's going to do it. And you got to trust and you got to obey. And you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's that constant trying, whether we're in a storm, whether we're in a phase where we're on the other side of a storm waiting for the waters to subside, or maybe we're fully into blessing at this point in our lives for right now, waiting for probably the next storm. Then
Yeah.
whatever it is, like we've got to do our best, but at the same time, not wear ourselves out. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah.
because I think people can get just where activity just becomes activity. It's for no other purpose than activity.
You just mean like just busyness?
Yeah, people have a hard
Okay.
time sitting
Yeah.
in suffering or sitting in a storm,
Mm-hmm.
not feeling like they're doing something to get themselves out of it. Do you know what I mean? It can
Right.
be really hard to sit there and learn
Mm-hmm.
contentment because you feel like you should be working your way out of it. How can you be content and work your way out? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think you can. I think that it's like everything else. It's a balance.
Mm-hmm.
You follow. Maybe the simple answer is just follow Jesus. He showed us how, and that's it.
Yeah.
Just keep your eyes on Him. Go where He leads. Trust and obey, and He'll get you. He'll get you through the storm.
Mm-hmm.
He'll get you through the waiting. Through all those things.
Yeah.
I also thought it was interesting that the first thing Noah did
Mm-hmm.
when they're off the ark, at least the first thing we're recorded as having done,
Yes. I
is
didn't remember this.
sacrificing some of the very animals that he spent a year caring for and feeding and all these things in a world that doesn't have many animals right that second.
Right.
So it's into the scarcity that he still obeys and sacrifices. And that sacrifice, it says that God smells the sweet fragrance and thought to himself, I'll never again curse the ground because of people. I know they have this bent toward evil from an early age, but I'll never again kill off everything as I've just done. For as long as earth lasts, planting and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never stop. It's presented here like God has a change of heart. I understand that God doesn't change from a theological standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
But we've talked before on Beers with Jesus about how within the context of the story, there's a difference between God, the character in this story, and God spread out all over all of eternity. You understand what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
when he enters this story,
Mm-hmm.
to some extent, God's playing a character
Okay.
in the drama. And in the drama that he's playing here, we see what looks almost like a change of heart. I don't know if it is a change of heart or if it's the exact same as it is today, but what we see at the end of this chapter is, to put it simply, judgment doesn't have the last word. The flood doesn't have the last word. Mercy has the last word. And God says, I'm never doing this again this way. Mercy, I think, has the final say with God. What do you think?
I think that I don't think what you're saying is wrong. Like, I think this can be true at the same time. I feel like God saying this is his way of affirming that this was a good move. Like I've
agree.
done some I've done yeah.
It was necessary.
I made the judgment. Yep, this was necessary. And it's also his way, I think, of saying that it worked. He knows like everything is new again and it's going to be better than it was. So I feel like he's affirming his choice to do it.
Do you think he's also encouraging? We're going to see in chapter 9 next week that he gives them a sign that he's not going to destroy the world again, and that sign is a rainbow.
Oh yeah.
And we'll talk about that next week. But
Okay.
do you think that it was important for all of mankind that would come after Noah to not live in constant fear that God might wipe out the planet again?
Yep.
Like, that's not how we grow in our faith in God. In other words, if you were to compare this, to make a direct comparison to salvation, like Peter does, we talked about 2 weeks ago, and he talks about how we're saved from the water by the water, the ark's floating on top. And so
Oh right.
if you were to think about it like coming to God, being redeemed, becoming a follower of Christ, we move from there into growth, but we don't have to live our lives in constant fear of God's judgment because Jesus has already taken that judgment for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mercy has the final word, and if you're the redeemed of the Lord, it's had the final word in your life. And the final word was Jesus. In John, it says, in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And that was the last word. Jesus has the last word on everything. We saw that in another one too, where it said he's going to reign until he puts all things under his feet. He has the last word on everything.
Right.
And that's encouraging, I think. I think it fits in a little bit with our some of the things we've talked about with the judgment that the lost face. That we have a hard time seeing judgment or hell as having the final say. Anywhere. Death, maybe, although I don't know that God has the final say is the answer. You know what I
Right.
mean?
And death means something different to God than it does
Yeah.
to us. And like, in the context of this conversation. So, well,
But God was destroying the world to remake it. And I think that's what he's doing in our lives too. In the storms that we go through.
right.
I was thinking through multiple different people and
Okay.
biblical characters and the storms that they faced. Because when you start thinking about it, there's so many in the Bible that have faced so many storms. I was thinking of Job. Everybody knows the story. Well, I don't know if everybody knows the story of Job, but Job was the one who was righteous, and Satan's up there with the angels, and God's like, "Have you seen Job? Pretty good guy." And
Yeah.
no one's quite like Job. And then Satan says, "Yeah, well, you put a hedge around him. You blessed him crazy. Why wouldn't he praise your name? Take those blessings away, and he'll curse you to your face." And so then comes God, a stripping away. God gives, in the story, God gives Satan the permission to start stripping things away from Job. He strips away his wealth. He strips away his kids, kills all his kids. His wife basically leaves him and tells him he should just kill himself because his life is so miserable. He takes away his health at the end.
He's just like alone and has
He's taking away everything. And then, for something like 35 chapters, he has 3 friends who come and just tell him the whole time how all this is his fault. Like that's... He's going back and forth.
I forgot about that.
Most of the book of Job is Job and his friends going back and forth, and Job giving his perspective, and his friends giving theirs, and back and forth. And then at the very end, God shows up.
Yeah.
And it's this great 3 chapters. It's fabulous. But at the end of it, in Job 42, God's done. He's kind of had his diatribe. Because Job had his against God, and then God kind of had his against Job. And he said, "You think you know everything? Where were you when I created it?" You know what I mean? He just goes on and on. But I think what he's doing, I think what Job's learning in that is he's learning humility. Because in Job 42, it says, Job makes a statement that's something along the lines of, in different translation it reads differently, but they all have the same flavor, which is, "I'd heard of you before. I knew about you before, but I lived on rumors. But now in this storm, I've seen you with my own eyes. Now I've seen you firsthand, and that changes everything."
Wow.
And even with Noah, in Hebrews 11, the Hall of Faith, Hebrews 11:7, "By faith Noah built a ship in the middle of dry land. He was warned about something he couldn't see and acted on what he was told. The result, his family was saved. His act of faith drew a sharp line between the evil of the unbelieving world and the rightness of the believing world. As a result, Noah became intimate with God."
Wow.
Same thing I think that happened with Job. He saw God. He becomes intimate with him. When John says in John 17 that eternal life is to know God, that's what both of them stepped into. Noah went through the flood. Job went through his own storm, but at the end they saw God. And it was worth everything it cost them. You know what I mean?
Right.
What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think that it's a really tall, it's a really tall order. I can't even fathom. I can't even fathom losing everything, losing my kids and losing my health and my
No, but
house
you've been
and
through storms and you've lost a lot. And it's not
I,
comparative. Remember that.
right, right, yeah, exactly.
But have you felt like in your own storms in
Mhm,
life that you've gone through
mhm.
that once you've gone through those storms that you've seen God in a way or that you've come to know God in a way that you didn't before the storm?
100%
And that maybe is the purpose.
might be. When
God,
you're in it, you kind of like aren't. Yeah, yeah. Cancer treatment was long enough that there were times during it where, like, in the middle of it, you felt
you
that
feel
way.
abandoned a little.
Yeah, but you also recognize you're like, this is like God's working here.
Yeah,
It was long enough. It was stretched out over time.
right.
Sudden loss of my husband. It was just like, I mean, that was just. I just felt like my whole world got flipped upside down.
Yeah, and you're
You
probably
know.
still sorting through some of that
hmm
to some extent.
Right. Now enough time has passed and yes, and I see things a little differently. It's feels like a different kind of a storm.
Yeah.
But anyway, but what my point was, like, when something bad happens that's sudden, like for instance, like the diagnosis day, you're just like, ugh, I mean, you just feel, yeah, you feel like what's happening? What good could possibly come of
Yeah.
this storm? And so in that first moment, yeah, I don't think most people feel like, oh, can't wait to see what God does that's great through this.
No.
But later, yeah, I think we gain perspective. It's not always easy, but
It's
I
almost
feel
never
I
easy.
yeah, I feel
I don't
really
think easy is part of the gig.
right. I mean, it's not even easy to look at it that way. But I'm surrounded by faithful people, and that's a
Helps a
blessing.
lot.
It does because not that when was upset, people are like, "Don't worry about it. God's got this." Whatever. It wasn't like that, but I
Right.
just always knew that with prayer and that it was going to reveal itself, and it does.
You were like Noah. I mean, you believed
hmm
confidently that God was going to get you to the other side of this storm, and
Yeah.
you knew the world would look different. You weren't sure exactly what it would look like, but
Yes.
you were confident that whatever it looked like, He was at work, and
hmm
therefore it's okay because we can trust
Right.
Him.
Yes. I mean, I kind of feel like you don't have another choice.
Well, the other choice is, yeah,
The other choice is despair. And
uh huh.
I just, I can't stay there. I don't know. I just
In
don't
A
feel like
Grief
it's a,
Observed, C.S. Lewis wrote something
oh, yeah.
along the lines of, it's not that I'm in danger of coming to not believe in God,
hmm
but that I feel in danger of coming to believe so many dreadful things about Him.
Oh,
Like
yeah. There
that's
you go.
that's kind of it, you know?
Yes. Um, yeah, I was trying to look up something that you made me think of. So what about you? Have you felt in your own challenges, like how long does it take before you can break out of the
I don't know. I'd
the
like to know.
initial the initial
I would like
despair?
to know.
You'd like to know?
Um, I
Yeah.
don't know. I think that what I've discovered is that maybe I'm starting to discover. I shouldn't say I've discovered,
hmm
but I think I'm starting to learn
Such a process. hmm
is that God's timing. I can always trust His timing, even though I always feel like He's wrong. I know
Like,
that's
God,
not
if you
right.
could
I'm just
just,
saying.
yeah, if you could just pay attention to my
I
timeline,
just
this will go so much better.
be a lot easier on me down here if you would just listen.
hmm
But you feel that. But I think that I'm learning to trust His timing
hmm
and His just trust Him that He's got it. And to
Yeah.
depend. That's I think the other thing is it's really to move from from a spirit of independence to a spirit of dependence is, well, it's difficult, you know? It's
Yeah.
just hard. It's like, it's like in the Chronicles of Narnia, there was a kid who had turned into a dragon because he was such a bad little kid.
Oh, right.
And then Aslan comes and starts like tearing off all his dragon
The
scales. And he
scales. And it's
finds
painful.
Eustace, I think is the kid
Yeah.
under there.
That's right.
And
And it's
it's
really
painful.
painful.
It's really painful, this remaking.
Yeah.
And I think that's true for all of us, that it's hard. It's like Jesus is offensive. We talk about that all the time too. I think by design. I think he's so offensive because we're so swollen with ourselves. We just are, there's so much self-will and we don't even recognize it. I think it's so much a part of us sometimes. And so, yeah, I think that
Right. Like we cling to it.
what God's doing for us hurts because it's everything that we've kind of bound ourselves to. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I know I use a lot of C.S. Lewis lines. It's because I read so much C.S. Lewis, and I
yeah.
have read so much of it in my life.
He's
So
so good.
a lot of my brain often thinks in C.S. Lewis lines.
That's
It
awesome.
just does. It
He's
kind of
you always make him relevant too.
it runs in those currents. But one thing that he says, I think it's in the Problem of Pain. He says, God has something to give us, but our hands are full. So
yeah.
in grace, in love, in mercy, he empties our hands so that we can take what he has to give us. But man, that emptying's painful, I think. And I
Right.
think it always is.
Yeah.
I don't think there's
I
any other
did find
way.
what I was looking for.
Go.
It's in 1 Peter chapter 1 in verse 6. He says, "I know how great this makes you feel, even though you have to put up with every kind of aggravation in the meantime. Pure gold put in fire comes out of it proved pure. Genuine faith put through this suffering comes out proved genuine." And
So good.
when I was looking for it, I looked at the very beginning of First Peter, and the very beginning. This is so good. I just have to share this too. He says, he's writing to exiles scattered to the four winds. Not one is missing, not one forgotten. God the Father has his eye on each of you and has determined by the work of the Spirit to keep you obedient through the sacrifice of Jesus. May everything good from God be yours.
So good.
So, yeah, it's so
Isn't
good.
it in Peter 2 or Second Peter that we talked about a couple weeks ago where he says he's given everybody space and time to change?
Oh, was it?
I think it was
That's
it
cool.
was in either First or Second Peter. He's not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. He's given, and I think the message, I think it's the same verse, translates that as he's giving everyone space and time to change.
I think I want to read both of those, First and Second Peter.
They're good.
Like
I
from,
just finished them not very long ago.
just to mess up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Are they like all that good?
yeah,
It's like
it's real good.
great
I always
books?
think that, I'm not a big epistle guy. A part
Okay.
of that's I'm kind of a contrarian to everybody and everything. And so
Okay.
because most messages and preachers preach on the epistles, I don't like them as much.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's not, just to let
Got
you know
it.
what I deal with inside my own self. But but every time I read them, I love them. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
I think of them
So
as kind of the
you're resistant
commentaries
to
and
them
notes
because
on the stories, and I just love them every time I read them.
That's cool.
And it's just my own contrarianness that I got to deal with all the time. Works against me sometimes. Isaiah 54, 9 and 10 in the Message. I want to read this because I think this is good. And I think it really ties in with this passage and with the end where God's like, I'm not going to do that again. You know what? Where mercy triumphs over judgment. Isaiah
Okay.
says, and this is God speaking. So this
Okay.
is a prophecy, but it's the words of God. It's God narrating
Okay.
kind of. So God says this exile. He's talking about the Jews, both in the northern and southern kingdom, just constantly disobeyed God, constantly ran after idols, all kinds of stuff. God finally exiled both the northern and southern kingdoms. I
Okay.
think northern kingdom went off to Assyria, and the southern kingdom of Judah finally was conquered by Babylon, and they're all hauled off to Babylon. And
Okay.
that's where Jeremiah sends them that letter that's so
Oh,
famous, Jeremiah 29, that he's like, I know the plans I have for you. Plans not to abandon you, but to care for you and bring you back and the whole
right.
thing. That he's writing to these people in exile.
Okay.
Well, this also, he's referencing the exile. So he says, this exile is just like the days of Noah for me, meaning for God. I promised then that the waters of Noah would never again flood the earth. I'm promising now no more anger, no more dressing you down. For even if the mountains walk away and the hills fall to pieces, my love won't walk away from you. My covenant commitment of peace won't fall apart. The God who has compassion on you says so.
Whoa.
I just think that's so good.
It is good.
And that
It's
I feel
so
like
encouraging.
after
Like,
the flood,
yeah.
we need we needed the encouragement that this wasn't how God was always going to operate. Judgment wasn't going to be his final word. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
That he was going to make a
This
way.
is like, this is not just encouraging for the day. This is like big picture, eternal encouragement.
Yeah.
That's what that sounds like to me. That's beautiful.
And then Psalm 36, in the message, of course, it's Psalms are poetry. Psalm 36 has kind of a stanza. So what you get is it reads like kind of like a song. So it says, "Thank God, He deserves your thanks. His love never quits. Thank God, thank the God of all gods. His love never quits." So over and over and over and over and over again throughout Psalm 136,
Who says that?
he says his love never quits. Over and over and over. The
Nice.
flood wasn't God's love quitting. It was God's love at work.
Yep.
He was remaking a world gone bad. And that was the first. Now, he did it that way through the flood, but that's what he's doing through Christ and through us. That's what his kingdom, when Jesus says the kingdom's here, like, let his kingdom, when in Lord's Prayer, let your kingdom come in me, let your will be done in me, on earth as it is in heaven. Right? That's
Yep.
the kingdom. The kingdom has come. With Jesus, he ushered in the kingdom. And his love never quits. Jesus has the final word. And Jesus' final word is mercy
Yeah. Forgiveness.
for all who will come. Now, you don't have to necessarily. He doesn't make you. He doesn't lead you by the nose and make you. But he'll do almost everything else. If you just give him like an inch, man, he'll take all he needs.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I thought that was good. I just really
That was
enjoyed.
good. Thank you for giving us samplings of it.
It's nice to see him on the other side of it. It's nice to
Yes.
see Noah and crew once again firmly on dry ground.
Well, and I never knew that after the flood, God made these declarations,
Yeah.
these promises at that time. I don't remember that. That's cool.
It's like he's reaffirming, he's making this covenant with Noah and with all of humanity that's going to come after Noah.
Yeah.
We're going to get the same thing with Abraham. There's the Abrahamic covenant. We get the same thing with David. There's the Davidic covenant, I think is
Okay.
what it's called. And so over and over again, but these covenants are kind of reinforcing themselves. It's not that they're different. It's that they're reinforcing God's love for his creation and his intention to make that creation perfect again.
Yeah.
And it's going to take a lot of time. And sometimes he's got to wipe the slate clean, even in our own lives. And it may be painful. It may be a lot
Right.
more painful having the dragon ripped out of us than we would like to think. And in the midst of it, we might think we're in hell, I think.
Yeah.
But faith comes believing that God has promised us that he's not done, that what he's doing is still at work and that his love never quits. So,
Well said.
good job, Carrie.
Good job to you.
Good job.
Good stuff.
Well, I think we did a pretty good job. Beers with Jesus.
so,
What do you
too.
think? Look at us go, guys. Now, listen, everybody who's still with us, which is everyone. We appreciate it, and I'm glad that you stuck with us long enough to realize that I was right. So now you can subscribe. You can tell all your friends, and come back next week.
Yeah.
We'll be excited to see you. So,
All
all right,
cool.
guys.
Thank you.
Carrie, thanks for joining me today. Next week, we've got one more chapter on Noah. And then we learn about the rainbow and some other things.
Cool.
And then we're gonna go. We get a family tree. We know how much Carrie loves family trees. Maybe we'll fold that in with 11. And then we got the Tower of Babel.
Oh, cool.
That was the one Trevor wanted to come on for. Maybe we'll have him on.
Oh, was it? I'm glad you
We'll see if he makes
That's
the cut.
All right.
I'm just kidding, Trevor.
That'd be cool.
All right, guys. Carrie, thanks for joining us, guys. Go to toddsworld.net if you haven't. Got books on there that are for sale. You should check out Leaves That Blew Away. Witness is great. Insurrection. A lot of good books. Check those out. There's merch and stuff, too. A lot of, if you want Beers with Jesus merch or Wildly Opinionated News Hour merch or whatever. Lots of stuff. So join us there. Follow us here. Check us out on YouTube. Send us to people. The only way we're going to grow is with your help, basically. It's when you love the show so much that you can't stop talking about it to other people. So I'm excited for that. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Send us any comments, too. We'd love to hear your comments of what you thought of the episode, what you see in Genesis 8, that maybe we missed something. It's hard for me to imagine, but maybe. So let us know.
Share your favorite C.S. Lewis quote in the comments.
That's a good one, Carrie. All right, guys. We're out of here. We will catch you next week. Thanks, Carrie.